In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in Black and White emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of America in Black and White. Before we welcome our extraordinary guest today, we pause, as we always do on America in Black and White, to honor a son or daughter of this nation whose life reminds us that the work of justice is never finished, and that the most powerful thing a person can do is show up. Tonight, we reflect on the life and legacy of D. Ray McKesson, born July 9th, 1985, in the city of Baltimore, Maryland. Born into a city that shaped him, challenged him, and ultimately called him back to serve Baltimore was not just a place on a map for D. Ray. It was the crucible that forged his conscience and the canvas upon which he would one day help paint a vision of what this country would become. From those early years in Baltimore, something was already forming in him, a deep, unshakable sense of responsibility to the people around him and a refusal to look away from injustice, even when looking away would have been easier. D. Ray McKesson went on to earn a degree in government and legal studies from Bowdoin College in 2007, where he also served as student body president, a role that foreshadowed the kind of community leadership that would define his life's work. From Bowdoin, he stepped into a classroom in East New York, Brooklyn, as a sixth grade math teacher through Teach for America. That classroom, full of young people that the world had already begun to overlook, planted seeds of justice deep within him. He carried those seeds into his subsequent work with the Harlem Children's Zone and into the administrative and talent development roles with Baltimore City Public Schools and Minneapolis Public Schools, where he ultimately rose to serve as Chief of Human Capital for Baltimore City Public Schools, stewarding the talent and workforce strategy for an entire urban school system. These were not just professional milestones. They were years spent learning the architecture of broken systems from the inside and asking every single day how to make them whole. Then in the summer of 2014, the killing of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, changed everything, not just for D. Ray, but for a generation. He went to Ferguson, he stayed, he live streamed, he organized. He put his body, his voice, and his platform on the line at a moment when silence felt complicit. He was present in Baltimore when Freddie Gray's death ignited his own city. He was live streaming from a protest in Baton Rouge in 2016 when he was arrested, charges that were later dropped. And through all of it, he never stopped building. Alongside Janetta Elzie, Brittany Packett, and Samuel Sengwe, D. Ray co-founded Campaign Zero, a landmark data-driven policy platform designed to end police violence and dismantle mass incarceration with the precision of research and the urgency of love. As the executive director of Campaign Zero, he continues that work today. He is also the author of On the Other Side of Freedom, The Case for Hope, a member that is a memoir that is both it's a personal testimony and political manifesto. And every week he hosts Pod Save the People on Cricket Media, an award-winning podcast that covers justice, identity, and equity with intelligence, warmth, and unrelenting purpose. He holds honorary doctorates from the New School, the Maryland Institute, College of Art, and his beloved Bowdoin College. He has been named one of Fortune magazine's world's greatest leaders, recognized among Time magazine's 30 most influential people on the internet, celebrated by Forbes as one of 21 Black leaders who shaped history, and honored by President Barack Obama himself for his community organizing and advocacy work. What makes D. Ray McKesson's journey so profound and so necessary to reflect on here on this show is that he never chose between the classroom and the front lines. He never chose between policy and protest, between data and emotion, between hope and accountability. He insisted that all of it was possible at once. He represents a generation of Black leaders who understands that education and activism are not opposing forces. They are the same force moving in the same direction toward the same horizon of justice. His life tells us that you can teach sixth grade math in Brooklyn and then march in Ferguson. You can manage human capital for a city school system and then build a national policy platform. You can be strategic and passionate, analytical and on fire. His life is proof that Black organizing is not a detour from the American history. It is one of its most important chapters. And here on American Black and White, we are proud to hold that chapter up to the light. We carry D. Ray's example with us now as we welcome a man who embodies that same spirit of service, scholarship, and sacrifice. A man who has dedicated his life to transforming schools into places of possibility for every single child. Now, let me introduce our outstanding guest today. Again, good evening and welcome. Welcome to America in Black and White. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King, and I am so deeply grateful that you choose to spend this time with us tonight. Whether you're watching on your screen, listening in your car, or streaming us from wherever life has taken you today, now you know that this space was made for you. This is a space for real stories, real conversations, and real people who are doing the sacred and often unsung work of building a better America. Every episode, we come together to listen, to learn, to be moved, and tonight, I promise you, you will be moved. I want to talk for a moment about possibility, about what it looks like when possibility walks into a room. Sometimes possibility looks like a new law, a new policy, a new movement in the streets, but sometimes, some of the most transformative times, possibility looks like a teacher. It looks like a leader who walks into a school building before the sun comes up and is still there long after the last child has gone home. It looks like someone who chose deliberately and passionately to stand in the gap between the world as it is and stand in the world as it should be, and to build that bridge with their bare hands, one student, one lesson, one relationship at a time. There are people in this country who understand that education is not a job. It is a calling. It is a covenant. And the ones who answer that call with their whole hearts, with their intellect, their empathy, their creativity, and their courage, they're changing the trajectory of lives in ways that will never fully be measured, but will always be felt. Tonight's guest is one of those people. He is a builder, someone who looks at schools and communities not as they are, but as they could be, and then goes to work. He is a bridge connecting students who have been told they cannot with educators who believe they can. He is an advocate, someone who does not wait for the system to get it right, but who pushes, challenges, and transforms from within. He is a mentor, a visionary, a voice for the voiceless, a champion for the children that too many systems have given up on. And he does all of this not from a place of ego, but from a place of deep, genuine, self giving service. His work in classrooms and communities alike speaks louder than they title. He holds he holds or many credentials he has earned. Though those credentials are remarkable, and we will hear about them tonight, he is the living embodiment of what it means to lead with love. This conversation is going to go deep. We're going to talk about where he came from, what shaped him, what drives him, and what he wants to leave behind. We're going to talk about a special education, not as bureaucratic category, but as a moral commitment to the students who need the most and are too often given the least. We're going to talk about leadership, advocacy, community, and the future of education in this country. And we're going to hear the kind of truth that only comes from someone who has lived it, not studied it from a distance, but been in the rooms, in the classrooms, in the communities, in the trenches, doing the work every single day. This is the kind of conversation that American Black and White was made for. So I'm not going to make you wait any longer. This time has come. It is my absolute honor, my genuine privilege, and my sincere joy to welcome to America in Black and White an educator, a leader, an advocate, a visionary, and a man whose mission is nothing less than the transformation of schools into spaces where every single child knows they are seen, they are valued, and they can succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the extraordinary Dr. Samuel L. Bennett to the show.
Good afternoon, good evening, good evening, good evening. How you doing
Hello, sir. How are you? Welcome back.
today? Thank you for having me back. It's a pleasure.
Yes, sir. So, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we get into the show?
Oh man, I just want to say I definitely appreciate the introduction, man. That was pretty extraordinary. And I'm just happy to be here. Happy to be here and excited to be back again.
Yes, sir. Well, so we'll start off, where I like to have the audience again to get the opportunity to get to know who Dr. Bennett is and, the good things about Dr. Bennett before you became Dr. Bennett. So, can you take us all the way back to the beginning of where did you grow up and what do you remember most about the community that raised you?
What do I remember most about growing up? Uh, Man, I remember my trials and tribulations the most.
Mhm.
Because those are what truly shaped me to be who I truly am. And the easiest way for me to sum up the other piece is my favorite way of saying it is I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We have our own identity. We believe in hard work. We believe in hard, honest work. So that's Sam in a nutshell when it comes to his hometown and where he's from. But on the other side of that, um, I have a second home, and I was thinking about this earlier this week. Maybe because I was thinking about the podcast and everything, and it just really been on my mind. But I was thinking about where I'm from. I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh, and that truly uh, made me who I am.
Mhm.
But I spent a lot of time in Virginia. I spent a lot of time in the 757. So the best way for me to say that is Pittsburgh made me who I am, but the 757 area molded me into who I wanted to be.
as I think about that, as you say that, and I think about the Steel City because I've been to the Steel City several times. I'm a Steeler man, and I know what that's like being in that city. And so being tough, because you definitely got to be tough. And
Right.
so to say that, and to take that two-prong answer that you answered, where you were built here but you was molded here, again, that adds more to the dimensions and give you all the tentacles that you have, that basically says this is what you're doing and your give back process. What is it from those two places that you can tell us today is your total foundation for why you are the great example of a leader that you are?
Uh, I love both of those cities. A lot of relationships in both of them. Even still have my relationships. Even I was there for a short time when I first left Pittsburgh, but I was in the DMV area. Still have a lot of relationships there. But what I would also say between those cities, what made me today, or what molded me into today, was it. As I grew older and I reflect on my time in both of those cities, one thing that stands out to me the most would be advocacy.
Okay.
It would be truly advocacy. Um, and that's what I really wanted to dive in deep with within my dissertation is I wanted to really investigate and study, um, you know, a lot of things that are consistently ignored within the minority communities. So for me to see that in two different areas that mean the most to me, that is something that resonates most to me. So within my time, even in Northern Virginia, so I'll just say Pittsburgh in Virginia, I'll say just advocacy. That's where it really brought it together for me.
So, who were the people in your life, family, neighbors, teachers, mentors, who had the most profound impact on who you became? What did they give you that you still carry today?
Man, that's a loaded question because I have some relationships, and and I truly mean this from the depths of my heart. The relationship that I still have today um, truly molded me. I grew up single mother. She's a fantastic mother. She's a fantastic mother. But even with my dad gone, for some time, um, I had a lot, but it didn't really start rolling until I actually met my uncle, which is my dad's baby brother. So I think I met him. I was probably about 11 years old, and then he's the one that really got me going. Making me stay focused on the main thing and keeping the main thing. But even outside of my uncle, I had a blessing of working with a group of men, which brought me to Northern Virginia, which was called at the time called College Prep World. And it was cool to work very close with the Vic family, with the White Vic and Raymond Washington. And I still have very good relationships with them today. But my time in the DMV area, that's what football is what brought me down to that area.
Okay.
I wanted to work with those gentlemen. I wanted to, I'm not even gonna lie, I just stepped out on faith, and me and Raymond, trainer, uncle, everything under the sun. He's like a family member to me. I still talk to him today, actually. And and I remember having a conversation with him. I said, "Man, listen, I don't know nobody down here. You said you have something for me that I can utilize my talent. So I'm stepping out on faith, and I'm moving, down in this area from Pittsburgh." And it just took off from there. I loved the area, truly loved it. Had a lot of great relationships was doing very well in football. Unfortunately, my time was cut short because my mom had taken a job down in the 757 area. So that's what brought me down to Hampton High School. And man, I had a time there. And even with me being in the 757 area, um, the team that I was working with in Northern Virginia, they just followed me. And, I would come up north sometimes, come down south sometimes, but they, followed me, still kept me going in the right direction. But when I was down there, I met a lot of great people that I still talk to today. Uh, but one that really hit home for me in the 757 area was my head coach, Coach Jeff Nelson. I think I talked to him maybe about a month or so ago, so we still stay in touch. But what really stuck out to me with him is he seen me as more than just an athlete because the 757 is very rich with athletes. So
Yes, it is.
he seen me more than an athlete, but what actually, stood out is the help that he lended me and my mom and my little sister, to help us find a home and stuff like that. So I can't play for him in that team. And along that journey from going to school and stuff from there, the relationships molded me. So I'll say within the Virginias, the relationships is what really was most impactful to me, and I still hold those, till today because they're very valuable. They're just not like when I say I just talk to them, I mean I'm not just like text message or a quick phone call. When we talk, we talk, and even when we got to do some adjusting and life skills, uh, workouts. If I'm doing something wrong and we have those type of conversations very frequently. So I'll say the relationships is what it is for me because they still keep me going till this day. And I met all of them. I think when I first moved out of Pittsburgh, I was probably 15, 16 years old.
Describe the young Samuel Bennett before the degrees, before the titles. What kind of kid were you, and what did you dream about?
I mean, I think I was a normal kid. I mean, I went outside, rode my bike, played sports, of course. I tell people all the time, yes, I did have, the opportunity to go and play, football and everything like that. But the sport that I ultimately fell in love with first was baseball. And I say that all the
Okay.
time. I was like, man, I wish I would have kept playing baseball. Not saying, I would change my time with playing football, but I was like, man, I actually miss playing baseball. So, stuff like that, I did as a kid. Pretty much, about it. Always been a Steeler fan, from birth. So no matter where I would be in Pittsburgh, Virginia, Punta Cana, or Mexico, I'm watching the Steelers. So
Okay.
that's never changed. But that's just young Sam. I just played, and I was a gamer as a kid. I grew out of that more, as football and training, took off. But what did I dream about the most as a kid? Uh, to be honest with you, I think having a family is what I dreamed about the most. Um, because I didn't know what it looked like, didn't know how everything was going to unravel. Just wanted to see how that was going. But I think I would say I probably dreamed about the type of family I wanted to be, type of husband I wanted to be, stuff like that. I was always told I was always ahead of my years, and I was always thinking about things that other people typically don't think about for their age. So that would probably be it.
So, were there moments in your childhood or early years where you felt like the world had underestimated you, or where you witnessed others being overlooked? How did those moments shape your perspective?
Uh, you mean from like from a younger age or from now?
Younger age.
So from a younger age, Uh, I didn't like it. Uh, I didn't like it. I'm a big advocate for people, but I'm a very selfless person. So I'll tell you, like, hey, you did that person wrong, or you overlooked that person. That was a good candidate. You should have, tried it a
Mhm.
different way. Um, but within myself, um, I do the same thing. Just how it's done, how it's approaching. Just advocate when it needs to be done, and attack it the right way.
So, what was your relationship like with school as a student? Were there teachers or administrators who saw something in you that you didn't see in yourself?
Yeah, yeah. So once again, when I moved down to the 757, I had a principal. Name was Doctor. Well, now it's Dr. John Billy, but at the time, I think he was just working on a doctorate. Um, we used to have a lot of good conversations. We had a lot of good conversations, and one that I remember most vividly, um, I had a lot of good ones with him, but with my 12th grade English teacher, she had told me one time, Miss Ryan, she had told me, she said, Sammy, if you get your head out of your butt, you'll be a very good writer. She told me that all the time. She was like, if you really got your head out of your butt, you would be a good writer. And I remember that still to this day because it carried me through college. So I always wanted to be motivated to become a better writer. Just because I'm a very competitive person. So if you tell me I need to get better at something, I'm jumping on it right then and there. But if you also tell me that I can't do something, that lights a different fuel in me. So that's why I say, I mean, I'm a Pittsburgher. Don't tell me I can't do something that I know for a fact that I can do. I know situations and opportunities are different, but I pride myself on being a thinker.
So, talk to us about a defining moment, a crossroads, a challenge, a turning point that redirected the course of your life. Tell us what happened and how did it change you?
Oh man, my senior year undergrad football game on Saturday. I think we're probably the third or fourth game into the season. I completely break my forearm.
Oh,
So yeah, I have two plates and 12 screws in my arm, but that that was probably one of the lowest points of my life, and I learned so much about life and people in that moment because I seen a lot of people turn their backs on me when I broke my arm. Uh, but it brought me so much closer to the ones that I needed to be around, and I still have those relationships still to this day. But me breaking my arm was a complete eye opener. I had to completely learn how to use my left arm again, and it taught me the power of patience. Uh, it taught me how to think outside of the box. It taught me how to be very intentional in everything that I do. So breaking my arm in college, it I think that was the biggest eye opener in my life. I'll say that.
so what role did faith, spirituality, or your sense of higher purpose play in your upbringing and in the choices you have made as an adult?
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry.
What role did faith, spirituality, or your sense of higher purpose play in your upbringing and in the choices you have made as an adult?
I think my upbringing, I definitely grew up in the inner city of Pittsburgh. Definitely was the farthest thing from rich. My mom did, everything that she could possibly do as a parent. Um, but I just didn't know in Pittsburgh. I'm just being honest with you. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know you. I just did not know. So when I went to Virginia, that was a big step for me because it completely changed my life. So that's where I say I stepped out on faith there because I was comfortable in Pittsburgh. And it wasn't, I moved to Virginia, didn't like it, moved to Pittsburgh, and I had to, like, I was that person. I couldn't stay away. But it was the best decision for me. But when I went down to Virginia, that's where I found my calling. That's when I found my purpose, in life. So through those relationships that we previously were speaking of, they were the ones who helped construct me and put me together into who I am today. And sometimes I laugh. I'm like, I wouldn't have thought about this a million years ago, but this is where God needed me to be. I feel like this is my calling. Um, I'm good at it, and I really enjoy people and their development.
Let's move over to the classroom, and let's talk a little bit about your work as an educator. Can you tell us when and how did you know that education was your calling? Was there a specific moment when something clicked and you understood that this was your path? How did that work?
Uh, I didn't really know at the time, to be honest with you. I think I got into education and teaching just so I can coach. You want me to be honest with you? So that was there. So I didn't really know. But when I got in and I started working in the special education department, that's when I was like, this is my calling. This is where I like to be. Um, and that's what solidified like this is this is what I want to do. And as I progressed through my time and being in different settings, different states, and seeing the how everything was so like it varied. Everything was just different in so many different ways. But one thing that stood out to most was yes, the leaves may be different, but the cores were the same. There still were the same problem, no matter where I was. So that's when I was like, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to advocate for people and their development within education, whether if it's on the academic side or if it's on the athletic side. But at the end of the day, the whole purpose is for them to be developed and for them to be impactful within the community.
When I think about your resilience, because, I think you have to go through something in order to get somewhere. And I think you embody more than that, especially when it comes to the challenges of first getting into education. Can you tell us how did you manage to bring that together, in order to become such a great classroom leader and have your students to fall under your tutelage and be so great?
Uh, I just like to lead authentically. I kind of, to be honest with you, sometimes I forget I have my doctorate degree. Yeah, I kind of, not kind of, I do. I lead with my heart, with everything. That's just the person that I am. So, for everyone, I don't want to say fall in line, but I feel like that's the main reason why they gravitate toward me because I'm genuine in everything that I do. Um, and when I work with an individual or a family or a student, um, the only the only gain I get from that is seeing them grow or to achieve what they like to accomplish. So I like to bring it together that way. I like people to see me for who I am and not for how the world tries to portray me. So the best way for me to do that is to lead authentically, but also just to lead from my heart.
So take us into your first classroom. What was that experience like? The reality of it, the challenges, the surprises, the moments that confirmed you were exactly where you were supposed to be.
My first classroom was rough. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Listen. Listen. So my first classroom, right? My first classroom, I dealt with my first federal special education court case. Year
Wow.
one. Year one.
Wow.
Year one. That's what
Wow.
stamped me. I tell you, Virginia did a lot for me in my life. That's what stamped me as a special education educator. That moment right there. And then to find out the purpose behind it,
Hmm.
that's what lit a fire under me that's still burning 10 years later.
So
That situation.
is so did that give you purpose? Did that give you meaning? What exactly did that spin into you that made you so much better?
I said I'm going to completely rewrite the narrative based off of that last conversation I had with that lady. And once me and the building principal at the time, once we figured it out, because we had a conversation before we went into this last meeting, I was dismissed from that last meeting. And the county office came to my classroom and they said, "You're going to take 2 days off."
Wow.
They said, "You've been in teacher pre planning is the week before." And we started in about August. We started meetings that Thursday, started school on Monday. I was in a meeting 2 to 3 times a week, minimum 3.5 hours.
Oh, oh my
And it
God.
and it ran from August to the second week of March.
Ooh, did that take a toll on you?
It destroyed me. It destroyed me. And then it even got to a point to where even my wife had to tell me, and we still talk about it till this day. She says, "You will not do any work at home." Because I would be up till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, then still trying to go to the gym at 3. I was miserable. So I am very big on sticking straight to that. Like sometimes you got to work from home, and when we have to do that, we have to do that. But that 12, 1 o'clock stuff, no, because that situation that I went through there, it didn't just give me purpose. It told, I said, I'm going to completely rewrite this narrative and I'm going as far as I can possibly go. And I said, then no one's going to stop me. I'm going to get there no matter what I got to do to get it, but I'm going to get it.
So you chose special education as your professional foundation, a deliberate choice to serve students who are most often overlooked by the system. Tell us about that choice. What drew you to special education specifically?
I had a situation where I had came down to Virginia from Pittsburgh to see my mom. She was teaching medical assisting at the time, and she had a student that I just gravitated to. And once I really sat down with that student, and I went to work with her a couple times. So I would sit down with that student and I said, okay, I figured it out. That's where I said, okay, I, okay, I like this. Like, let's see, where I can go with this. And then as I grew older, I have a cousin, um, God rest his soul, he was autistic. Um, that that's where his death was like, okay. This is where, I really, really, really need to be. And then that situation, my first year, that's what completely changed me. Like that's when I said, this is what I'm going to do.
So, what do you believe are the most dangerous misconceptions that the general public and even a lot of educators hold about students with disabilities and diverse learning needs?
They think that they cannot learn and they think they are not smart.
Now, I call that oxymoron. How can
Mhm.
you be a teacher and or an instructor and make that kind of statement?
Because I'll sit here and I've dealt with situations where people be like, oh, that student can't learn. Oh, that student can't learn. Oh, that student can't learn. No, the student can learn. You just got to understand how they learn. So, and that takes a lot of, meetings, practice. That's a whole separate conversation. But they can learn. It may not be traditionally, but they can learn. And there's different ways and different strategies to evaluate that and to still get to the same end goal. There's a lot of ways. And when I say, yeah, they can learn. They can learn. And when I say they are smart, once you really understand a student with special needs, and you know how they communicate, you know how they talk, things of that sort, they're very smart. They just can't articulate it the same way. So it comes off as if everyone's like, oh, they can't learn because the verbiage might be the same or, the lesson might look different. But if you understand it through their lens, they're very smart. You know how everyone say, autistic students are very smart, but they're not really seen that way because the way that their body is being adjusted to a disability. You might have a student where they're like, oh, they're not they're physical, they can't do this. I'm like, no, she's hitting you hard because she has sensory issues. So she doesn't know that she's hitting you that hard. To her, you just said, hey, you have to tap my shoulder. She tapped your
Mhm.
shoulder. But you totally negated the fact that she tapped your shoulder because you felt like it was too hard. But you also got to understand she has sensory issues. So there's a lot of ways to really unfold that onion. So
Mhm.
for me, it kind of it kind of burns me out when they say, "Oh, they can't learn because they can't." Oh, that that student has a disability, so they're not smart. No, they are. They just learn differently than you.
Dr. Bennett, when I hear you say that, I wish that a lot of teachers or instructors, that when they're teaching classes, especially with, it doesn't matter if it's a kid with disabilities or just a regular class, that if they really took the time tonight to, as you say, to really understand the students, but also to learn how to differentiate between each student. I think that would make so much of a difference.
Mhm.
But when we think about education today, why do you think we have so many of these teachers, instructors that are like they're like just all over the place? And a lot of it's not good for the education system. Why do you think that's so?
Uh, I feel like we have gotten away from teaching and focusing too much on the business aspect of it. There's not a lot of love in the schoolhouse anymore. Everything is systematic. Hurry up, go to class on time, don't talk, don't move, just sit there. So, it's different. So for me, um, the way that people view school is just different now. So everybody is when I say it has turned into a business, it has turned into a true legit business that where everybody is out for self, but forgetting that we're all here for the main purpose, which is
Right.
not for the kids, which is not for a title, which is not for salary. It's for the kids. But on the other side of things, the way that education is going right now, it's not good. And you could see it in every building. Like If 10 people are saying the same thing, it has to be true. So who's going to be the person that really investigate the truth? What's really going on? Who's taking the time to even see what's going on in their building? Because as a business, as long as you're checking off all the boxes, who cares about everything and everybody else?
Mm. That point is taken because I think that's like an obvious thing.
Yeah, so like now it's not about the love, it's about a number. It's not about the love, it's about the number. And now the kids are seeing it. And kids are going to be kids. So as long as kids are being kids and they don't have clear routines, clear structures, and it's being scaffolded the same way for them to learn it, adjust to it, then it's the same. But also, I'll say the generation is just different
That's
because
true too.
now you don't have parents as partners anymore, and we need that. We don't have parents as partners anymore. So I remember me as a kid. You say, "Hey, I'm gonna call your mom." I tighten up. I
You
can tell
know
you,
better.
I know better. I got a couple. I can tell you a couple stories where they're like, "Yo, I'm gonna call your mom." They're like, "I'll call her for you." But you have that things going on in the generation, and I don't even blame that piece on the schoolhouse. I blame that as just the generation of at home because if you treat your parent a certain way, you don't care how you treat anybody else within the world. That's just the truth. So now we have that going on, and we also have within this generation, we also have younger teachers. So now you have young parents with older kids coming into the schoolhouse where they have teachers 25, 26, some are 30, some are freshly, freshly in the game. And because these students are at home talking to their moms any type of way, things of that sort, what do you think they're going to present to you in the schoolhouse to a person, if you want to be technical, because of how the things are going, they really don't have to answer to them. So I think it's a lot of ways to peel that onion, and it's definitely a sharp sword. But I just think the generation the generation is different. The standard is no longer the same.
So tell us in this situation here, as we're discussing this, what is your approach to those situations? How do you make it work for you? What makes your system so different from these other teachers?
um what makes my system a little bit different is just, even though I am leading authentically and from my heart, I'm firm, friendly, but I'm fair. We're going to laugh, we're going to joke, we're going to talk about sports, we're going to handle our business, and we're going to get the work done. But at the end of the day, this is the line in the sand. We can laugh, we could joke, but this is it. And because on the other side of that, I lead the way that I do, it's respected. Because the
Wow.
same way I'm setting the standard of this is my requirement on how we're going to approach each other, how we're going to speak to each other, and how this, as I say, business relationship in the schoolhouse is going to go. I'm going to reciprocate the same thing for you. So the same way I come to you in the morning and say good morning, I'm going to get one in return. I shake all my students' hands like a firm handshake. How you doing? And I have a few gentlemen that I see every day. I teach them, and they want to, oh, Dr. Bennett. I'm like, no, 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 no. How are you doing? Good morning. And they're like, hey, how are you doing? Good morning. And we have a good conversation. And we properly introduce ourselves. So I think that's what brings it all together is um, the same things that I am requiring. I'm also distributing.
So tell us about a student who changed you, a child whose story, whose resilience, whose breakthrough taught you something about this work and about yourself that you could not have learned any other way.
Student. You want to know what's funny? I have a
Mm.
student, and she wrote me a note one day in class, and she just poured out her heart, how much she respects me, how much she appreciates how I always ask her how she's doing because she said she never told me the truth. She always told me she was fine and things of that sort. And then, the girl was like, sometimes I go to sleep and I cry at night because I feel like I can't say this and I don't know how to, maneuver here. And because she was one of my students, I knew her academic difficulties as well. So I said, okay, this is what, I have to do. But at the same time, I've carried that note in my backpack for probably about 6 years now. And occasionally, I'll be cleaning out my backpack and I'll come across it and I always look at it and I'm like, the advocacy. Just imagine struggling in the classroom, struggling at home, have so much to say and don't know how to say it, don't know how to take it from the head to the mouth or either from the head to the mouth to the paper. Just imagine having to deal with those struggles in our world. Just imagine that. Just imagine having a struggle in all the outlets you should have as a kid. Your home should be an outlet. School should be an outlet. And no matter where you go, because you spend 8 hours of your day at school. So during the school year, you're at school more than you're at home throughout the day. So just imagine having to do that and still have the goals and the aspirations that she had, even though she has told me that she did not think she was going to be able to achieve her goals because of her academic deficits. So that's what really, it keeps me grounded at work.
Let's um let's talk a little bit about the principal's office and beyond your work in leadership. Walk us through the transition from classroom educator to educational leader. What prompted it? What did it feel like? And what did you discover about yourself in the process?
Oh man. Um, leadership, leadership was, the classroom was fun, but my time in leadership was very valuable because man, I learned a lot from the administrative side that teachers don't see within the classroom. So, going from the classroom to administrator was very valuable to me. But being an administrator was probably the most impactful because I had to learn on the fly. uh, the gentleman who got me into leadership, I still talk to him today, and a lot of things that he taught me, I was able to still carry with me that I still use today. And I had said something one time, and he was moving. As an administrator, you really don't get the chance to sit still at work. You're usually on your feet. And he had asked me a question, and I gave it back to him, and he answered it like as he was walking past me. And he looked at me. He said, "Oh, Bennett, you ain't gonna be able to work for me if you." He was like, "Oh, Bennett, you ain't gonna be able to work for me if you think that's slow." I was like, "Okay." But as I grew in the leadership, I understand that now because everything has to be very precise and it has to be done quickly because there are possibly four administrators in a building that holds 1,000 plus students.
Oh, wow. That's a big school.
Possibly, sometimes things work like that. When it all comes down to it, and I'm sure there's some structures, underneath to kind of support that. But just think about it. The people who make the final decisions in the building are the principal and the assistant principals. Let's say there's four of them. But the ultimate decision making comes down to the principal. So having to work really quick and have to lead with love and with your heart with every single student, granted, because there could be a million of them, we don't have that much time to sit with one, but you got to be on your toes 100% mentally in tune for every single student with a different situation coming from a different background. And when you add in the staff, you have to take care of them as well. So that right there is one thing that I remember today, and I still say it, can't think too slow. Got to be right, but you can't think too slow.
So, so you operate on belief that leadership is service. Where does that philosophy come from? How does it show up in the way you lead day to day?
This is a service. I am a member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, um, my beloved fraternity. Service is something that we do, but the development that I get from there are the same things that I put within my buildings or whatever setting I'm in. So service is the main thing that to me speaks to authenticity. It's just service. You know, we have gotten out of a time of just lending a good hand to somebody with nothing expected in return. Just service. Just you see somebody in need, help them. You have more young kids mugging and robbing old ladies in the parking lots of the grocery store instead of walking her to her car and helping her with the bags. Just general service with no expectation of anything in return. And that's just how I truly feel um, I want to be. I want to be known for. Um, I don't want to be known as the guy who just sits around with his hand out and don't really look for anything. That's just something I don't want to do. So service is big to me.
So, when it comes to your leadership, what does leadership mean to you, and how do you implement that leadership?
What does leadership mean to me? Um, Leadership to me just means empowering people to do the things that they think they cannot achieve on their own. Giving them the different strategies, giving them different avenues, providing different opportunities for them to collaborate, for them to come together as a collective and realize that we cannot do this work by ourselves and we definitely need to be together.
So, how do you build school culture? Not just mission statements and slogans, but the kind of deep living culture where excellence and care are genuinely felt by every person in the building.
Wow, that's a big question. Culture is big in every organization that you're in, but for me, your culture is based on the relationships that you have with your staff and with your building. Um, Not saying you're going to have the best relationship with everybody, because those relationships will definitely vary. But if we're all in a professional setting, then the relationship should be all centered around one thing. So the culture, I like to lead with those with relationships and establishing good ones, because within those good relationships you get to learn the individual. And within that, I like to know a person and sit back and observe. I'm a very observant person. So I like to see what people like, and I'm not opposed to, hey, if I know 75% of my building, and of course, I'll take surveys and pulses and everything to get this data. But let's just say if I'm like, hey, 75% of my building, participate in football Sundays or something like that. I am not opposed to, rewarding my teachers more than just a teacher appreciation week. If we're going to do that, oh, we're gonna watch some football, baby. So we're gonna figure out it. Cause listen, y'all like football, I like football. So so we're gonna figure this thing out. We're gonna handle this business, and then we're gonna enjoy each other's company. So one thing that comes to mind is I like everyone to be involved. So depending on the setting, depending on where we're at in the middle of the year, beginning or whatever, I like to do fun stuff around the things that people like to do. I like to work because the work got to get done. The work is the main priority. But when it's time to play, we're going to have fun. And I like for everybody to fully indulge in things that they like. If you like to play football, okay, cool. Let's rent out the gym. The gym, let's make it, some sort of football, and I put the team together to work that out. Or, hey, I know, the ladies like to do, hair and nails. We might have a little hair salon for the ladies in there. Like just different things, and thinking outside of the box is just who I am. But the culture that I would like to establish is it's always going to be work first. I can't bring that out of me. I'm a Pittsburgher. I'm going to get the work done. I go to work on my birthday. But when it's time to really, enjoy the fruits of our labor and, and celebrate, I'm all for that. So that would definitely be the culture. The culture is going to be very, very professional. But when there are the opportunities to celebrate, um, just know Dr. Bennett's going to do something that we like. It's not going to be something generic where they're just whatever. We do this every year. I want you to thoroughly enjoy it because we work hard and we deserve it.
It's about your leadership style. How do you describe it? I mean, like, is it more hands-on? How does that work? And why is your leadership style the way it is?
Oh, I like to get my hands dirty. I'm not the type of leader that's going to just sit around and dictate. I'm not going to do that. You know, we're definitely going, have some structure of, who's responsible for what and what timelines and deadlines look like. And when I would break off, with my team, we have a plan, we're all together, and we're going to attack that plan. But me knowing me, oh, I'm getting in there. Like if we're outside and let's just say the football team got to move some pads or something, oh, I'll be down there. Um, I one of my coworkers told me today. She was like, "Dr. Bennett, you just can't sit down. Like you just can't stop moving." I'm like, I can't. Like I'm not a guy who can just sit around when there's time to get some work done. So if it's time to get some work done, my hands got to get dirty. It might even be a situation where I'm like, hey, this was your responsibility. We delegated and you said, hey, this is what you're going to do. This is what we're going to do. Cool. But now, Dr. Bennett, I'm over here helping you with the leaves. And I'm like, well, you was moving too slow. So now we got to, pick the leaves up because we got to go on to the next task. So I'm just that type of leader. And that's just me being authentic. I'm going to be right in the midst of it with everybody.
Let's talk a little bit about speaking up, your work in advocacy, because you've mentioned that word a lot, and I know that when it comes to advocacy work, that's a whole lot of work there. And I'd like to know if you can tell us when you think about advocacy, the word itself, what it means, and what it demands. How do you define it? And what does advocacy look like in the context of your work in education?
Advocacy to me is doing what no one else wants to do in those tough moments. I like to be on the front line when it's time to have those tough conversations. I like to, I'm not the person that's going to, shy away from, a tough conversation or anything like that because you have to have them, and they're uncomfortable, but you don't grow when you're comfortable. So having those conversations mean the most to me. But actually standing up for something that I know is right means more. So for me, advocacy is doing what nobody else wants to do, but also doing it your way for the betterment of people.
And but with that, I mean, do you take when you do your advocacy work?
Mhm.
Let's just talk about a little bit about your advocacy work outside the school.
Okay.
When you're doing that, and are you doing community drives? What kind of advocacy work are you doing, and how do you try to make a difference in that work?
Oh, as of right now, the biggest thing that has been on my agenda is the Alpha Esquires program within my chapter of Sigma Eta Lambda. So within that program, oh, we do some advocacy, baby, because we have some gentlemen that we are fully developing into impactful young men within the world. So even with that, we have to do some advocating because we have some gentlemen that are in different spaces and from different backgrounds who have um, different points of view on a lot of different areas. So for me, I like to work with them and I like to teach them those different steps of advocacy and how to, properly address somebody in the arena, or how to, write their resume, or even help them when they're struggling in those moments at school. That's probably my most impactful piece, is being a part of them, or being a part of their journey academically. So working with their teachers and working with their counselors, helping them, gain scholarships is what's very important to me.
So, what are the issues and inequities that you feel are the most urgency about right now? The things that keep you up at night, that drive you out of bed in the morning, that makes it impossible to be silent. What are those things?
I'm just going to be very transparent. The thing that really gets me going now is how a human or individual can be underestimated for the color of their skin.
Mm.
And for me, that's where we were previously talking about. That's where it all ties it in together, because that young lady or that student that we were having that federal court case for my first year, fantastic student. But after all that time and to find out it was just because my skin was black, that's something I can never change. This little girl was coming, Mr. Bennett, I got a new Stiller hoodie, and I cheer with my students, so it's like a football game in my room. Then I sat here and I thought about it. I said, man, if she go home and tell her mom where she learned anything about the Stillers, that baby is never going to see that sweatshirt again. That that's what drives me every single day.
Wow. You know, I want to ask you a follow up question to that, because I actually felt that when you said that. And I no, seriously, I really did, because I know that especially in dealing with students, and situations like that can be very, very sensitive, and it also can be provocative in the wrong way.
Right.
So with situations like that, and if I hope that's the only time that you have actually had to deal with a situation like that. But in dealing with situations like that, how do you feel personally in learning and knowing those things? What makes you change, and how does that continue to make you tick to be the excellent instructor that you are today?
I feel like it's a slap in the face, because there's nothing you can tell me I cannot do, and I'm going to be okay with it. But
Right.
if you say I can't do it because I'm black, that's a different type of fire that you have lit under me. And for me, I had the opportunity of seeing some very impactful black educators who I feel like just did not get their true pat on the back that they deserve. So for me, um, just don't 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 do that, because I'm a firm believer of, and I was raised like this, to where it's like it doesn't matter if you're black, white, purple, or green. We are still people at the end of the day. But to try to stop me from progressing in life, or to hinder me from achieving something for something that I can't control and you can't control, then I have a problem with that.
Yes.
I have a serious
Yes.
problem with that. And I don't know why people think racism is still not relevant,
Not prevalent.
prevalent. I mean, I'm sitting here
Yes.
like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's like, are you seeing what's going on right in front of everybody and right here in our faces, or is everybody still paying attention to what they see on TikTok? So for me, no. So that's why I continue to wake up every day and lead the way that I do. I'm not perfect every day. I'm not. But even when I catch myself not upholding the standard, I get myself back together, or I take a minute to, adjust. But I definitely want to be the person that where everybody says, no matter what was going on, Dr. Bennett always was here. He never let anybody bring him down. So those situations that happened in my life is what drove me to be like, you know what? This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it as a as unapologetically black as I could possibly be, while still holding my professionalism.
So, with that being said, what is your motivation?
My motivation for this work, or just my motivation in
What's
general?
what's your motivation?
Losing. I don't like to lose. I don't like the feeling of losing. I don't at all. So if you want to know something that keeps me up at night, let the Steelers lose. It's a bad night.
Ooh, ooh,
Let
you know
uh
what?
let me personally feel like I did not win the day. In my mind, I
Mhm.
have to win the day every single day. I have to. Um, and if I don't, it keeps me up at night. So for me, it's just losing, because no matter how much success I reach, or no matter what accomplishment I achieve, there's still a population of people out here who do not want to see me win. So that motivates me.
Tell us about a specific battle you fought for a student or a community, a moment where you had to push against the system, take a risk, use your voice in a way that was uncomfortable or costly. What happened?
I had a boss wanted me to do something that was federally wrong with a group of students with IEPs. The way, listen, I was so mad I had to go to the parking lot, call my wife. Oh, I was hot. I was mad, because what she was doing was wrong morally, and it was wrong legally. And When it was rolled out, she knew. She knew not to come talk to me about it, so she sent somebody else. And me and that individual had a conversation. And they said, you know what, Dr. Bennett? I am glad you know this is not coming from me. I appreciate, how you handled this, in conversation. And you are right. I'm going to take these notes and I'm have a meeting with the overall decision maker. I came in the next day. Everything was different. Everything was done like everything was done the right way. And I said, that's one thing I'm never going to do because of that situation is play with an IEP and not implement it with fidelity. That is what I'll never do. And that you talk about some advocating, that's something that I'll never play with at all. I take that extremely serious. Even for my daughter's IEP. Oh, it's down and it's written and it's right. And if it's not right, oh, we're going to get it right. Because that's one thing I don't play about. So when people view a student or an individual with disability and they're saying they can't learn, they can't write, they can't do this, well, it starts with that. It starts with an IEP and it being implemented with fidelity. That's where it starts. So yes, they can, because if you read the document, you'll see how they learn. Yes, they can, accomplish this goal. But if you read the document, it'll tell you what ways to put that assignment or which ways to put that assessment for them to understand it. That's where we're at right now. And that's just flat out. That's one thing I don't play with.
Let's transition over to your roots and reach, your work in community development. How do you think about the relationship between schools and communities they serve? What was that? Um, what does the relationship look like at its best, and what gets in the way?
Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry, you were lagging a little bit.
How do you think about the relationship between schools and the communities they serve? What does that relationship look like at its best, and what gets in the way?
I believe well, it's not even a belief, it's a fact. You get a different educational experience depending on the area in which you attend. Um, and the real truth behind that is if you're in a minority area or a area deemed as let's just say a black community, that learning experience is different from a white student. The funding is different. The opportunities are different. Everything is adjusted differently. Um, so I would say you definitely get a different experience depending on where you attend the school. And the hard truth behind that is if you're in a minority area, there's a whole different set of things that go along with that.
Now, Dr. Bennett, you got to confirm this for me because this is something that I've said a million and one times, and I'm not a nice person when I say it, but I'm going to say it as great as possible today. Now, we earn money and pay taxes like everybody else. Why the hell are they diverging our tax dollars from our communities to these other communities and making them look like they're big, bright, and shiny when they're dumb as hell?
Because we are in a space now where the true identity of the United States has been revealed.
Well, there's nothing that you and I didn't know.
Yeah, so with that being said, I'll just say this. The Black community is applying more pressure than what we are giving ourselves credit for. Because why? We have more people speaking up. We have more people advocating. We have more people, let's just say, climbing the ladder. Okay. Other populations really do not like to see powerful black people.
Right. Exactly.
They don't like it.
Hmm.
And people always say, oh, that's because they're scared of us physically. No, they're just scared of us, period. Because not every black man and black woman has a good physical build. That's not how, the world works. But one thing that remains powerful is our minds. It's our minds. They are scared of our minds. So they got to find some way to suppress us. They have to. But because there have been so many loopholes within the black community, it's a lot easier right now. But look at as many black people s- holding the line, stepping up, and filling those gaps. So it's not going to be too much longer where all these gaps are being, ran through. But they're scared of us because, and we're nowhere near where I think we should be, but we're coming together. And now the traditional way of controlling us is not the same.
Well, I want to ask you this because, the point you make is very valid. So when you think about that, we think about education, we think about economics, we think about everything about our community and our people as a whole. And we have great professionals like yourself and other educational people that have come to the show that have a lot to display. And what you show is that, you know, these curriculums, these things that they want to do is all wrong. It's wrong. And you try to make it about as best as possible to stay within their system. So, besides the plants that they put in our areas, that are gladly thinking that they got something going by being a plant. How do we continue our community growth and strengthen our kids for education?
We have to pivot. And I'll go back to what we were speaking about earlier. Remember, we were talking about, having young parents and young teachers and things of that sort. We have to pivot because we do not live in the same time that even I grew up in where there was guidance. There's no more guidance. No more at all. There's no more developing. It's more so I'm just going to be a parent until 18, and however that looks is how that looks. And then you're off and you're going, there's no more guidance. There's no more guidance. So I feel like that's one thing I want to do is I want to provide that guidance again because I remember the times I did not have, and without them, I would not be there. So I feel like that's what's changing, and we're all coming together. It's the proper guidance.
So let's talk about your work beyond the school building in neighborhoods, with families, with churches, and community organizations. What does that community facing dimension of your work look like?
Uh, what does it look like?
Yes, sir.
I think for me, what it looks like is it's going to be energetic, but it's going to be developmental. Um,
Okay.
I want to. I'm. I believe learning is continuous, and it needs to happen every day. And you can learn something from everybody. So for me, within the community, it's just learn something. Let's put our brains together. Let's take a step forward. Let's do something different because what we have been doing no longer exists. but we have the opportunity to rewrite what's coming. So let's focus
Mm.
on that. So let's focus on that. Let's focus on rewriting a story in a way that was most impactful, not just to get us through it. So I think having that type of approach is how I want to be in the communities and how I am in the communities, and just getting out there, being with the people. I like being out there, man. Like, don't like. There's not a dollar in the world that's going to change who I am. I like to go to the same barbershops. I like to go to the same stores. I like to go to this. Like, I like to be in the communities in which I'm trying to influence. I like to see what they speak about. I like to be on the ground and in the soil of their experiences. So I like to be in the midst of it, you know. So that's just me. So if I'm in the community and things that I'm working to do, that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm approaching everything.
Oh wow. So, are there specific programs, initiatives, or partnerships you have helped build or been a part of that represent your vision of what schools and communities can accomplish together?
Can you say that last part one more time?
Are there specific programs, initiatives, or partnerships you have helped build or been a part of that represents your vision of what schools and communities can accomplish together?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for me, the most recent one is within the Alpha Esquires program, our mentoring program, we were able to establish a partnership with the local homeless shelter, and within that, we provide meals to the community. So that was very vital to me because I was able to not just show the gentleman or the young men how to properly cook a meal, but how to properly engage with people from a different background. So just being in that work and helping and developing not just the ones in need, but the ones that are forthcoming. So that partnership was very, very vital to me because I was able to see the mentees in a different light and to see them lead the way I do, which is authentically.
So, what do you believe schools owe to the communities they are embedded in? And conversely, what do communities owe to their schools?
The schools owe the communities a valid opportunity, and the parents or the community to the school should be appreciation. Appreciation for sure. Because being in this work and doing this work, I say it all the time, man. You come home and tell some of these stories from work, they would never believe you. And these parents are like, "What? He did what?" Whew, baby, let me tell you. So just appreciation, like a thorough appreciation of just understanding and accepting the reality that your precious baby may not be your precious baby around you 24/7. And be open to that. Be open to that it's not a one-on-one thing, but we're a village. Be open to the correction. Be open to the, hey, I know you said your child don't do this, but this is what we're seeing, and that is what ultimately is making our numbers go down in a decline. Is that type of partnership there?
Final question for you. How do you measure the impact of community development work, the kind of outcomes that don't always show up in a spreadsheet or a grant report, but that you know are real?
I like to see the people that I work with true excuse me, truly do anything in the community. I like to see that. Like, I thoroughly enjoy it when I go to restaurants or the mall and I see my students working, that's going to give me a smile anytime. So if I had to say that's how I measure it, it's just actually seeing it because I want to be out there. I want to be in the malls. I'm not the one who's always going to be out in the shadows. I like to be where I'm making an impact. So actually like seeing the work and saying, hey, this student said this, he wanted to accomplish this goal in 10th grade. And now, as a sophomore in college, he achieved what? I love that. I love staying intertwined with people. So for me, I can never look at it collectively and say, hey, 60% of who I worked with, to me, never. Because everybody's not going to be on that winning side. And I had to accept that early. Everyone's not going to be on that winning side. But when you do come across one that is winning, celebrate them. Boost them up, and do what you can for them. Because being from where I'm from and being an educated black man in America, I've seen it and currently dealing with it. So seeing them actually win means the most to me. And it could be one person, it could be two. As long as I say, hey, I just had the opportunity to know you, I don't care about everything else.
I seen you.
That's it. I seen you. I see you doing well. I remember when I taught you when you were in 10th grade, or I remember when, whatever. I love that. Not even like love it like in public, but when I see them doing what they said they wanted to do, or on that journey of getting there, I thoroughly love that. I really do. And that's where I want to stay connected with everybody. And I try my best, but unfortunately, that's unrealistic. But when I'm out in the public and I see students or just see people in general doing something constructive, that means the world to me.
So, in closing, what are some words of wisdom and encouragement you'd like to leave for our audience? How they can connect with you via social media, your websites, anything that you'd like for them to know?
Well, I'm on Facebook. It's just Sam Bennett on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn as well, and Dr. Samuel Bennett. My Instagram is Dr. Enforcer. It's my line name. But those are the platforms that I use the most. And I'm posting content, all type of leadership stuff on my social media. Those come out all the time, workouts and everything come out. I actually be getting a lot of requests to do a day in the life. So I'm thinking about doing that. I think I'm gonna give them what they're asking for, doing a day in the life, just so they can see it. Because people really don't think I get up at 3:30 in the morning. But
I thought that when you first started posting that, I was laughing. I was laughing. I'm like, Sam is up at 3 in the morning doing workouts.
yeah, man, I can't help it. I have to. And, and here's the thing: I am not a morning person. I'm not.
Mm.
I can't get it together when I first get up. I can't. I can't. I am not a morning person. But during my time playing football and getting, ready for the NFL draft and stuff like that, for me to have those opportunities to learn about how critical and vital that was to my daily routine, it just stuck with me. So if I have to say anything to anybody, I will say this. Say this. You can go as far as you would like to go in life. There's nothing in this world you can't accomplish. If you put your mind to it, you can. But always remember this: there are two things you can never change and you can never adjust. You can't change tomorrow and you can't adjust yesterday. So, with that, be in the moment. Worry about what you can worry about and control your controllables, because you will burn yourself out, you will waste time, and burn an opportunity that can potentially change your life, worrying about two things that you cannot fix or change. So that'd be my one thing that I would say is just be in the moment. Enjoy whatever it is in the moment. Work hard in that moment because your moment may look different than the next moment. But two things that are going to be similar on both ends is yesterday and tomorrow. So just be in the moment. Focus on now. Focus on what you need now.
Well, there's a comment here that I'm going to put on the screen for you before I close, and it's from George Washington. He says, "Great."
Appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. But yeah, those is where you find me. I'm on Facebook at Sam Bennett. My Instagram is Dr. Enforcer, and I'm on LinkedIn at Dr. Samuel Bennett as well.
So before I close, I have a closing monologue that I'm going to do to close the show. Do you have a few minutes to stick around?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, for those of you that are watching on all of our channels, especially our YouTube channels, if you have not subscribed and enabled all notifications, I ask if you could please support us by doing so. It will allow you to get each and every show live as we broadcast. You're also able to go back and watch every episode of all the great content that our leaders that have come here are leaving behind to help to grow and develop our communities. So, in closing, we have just experienced something special today. I want you to sit with that for a moment, just hold it wherever you are right now, because conversations like this one with people like Dr. Samuel L. Bennett do not come along every day. What we heard tonight was not just a professional biography, it was a testimony to what life looks like when it's fully given over something larger than oneself, when someone decides early and irrevocably that their gifts exist not for their own comfort or advancement, but for the children, the communities, and the futures that depend on them. We heard about service as a way of being. We heard about excellence as an act of love. And we heard about the kind of hope that is not naive or passive, but fierce, disciplined, and unrelenting. I want to speak directly to everyone listening right now who is in the work, the teachers, the counselors, the principals, the paraprofessionals, the coaches, the community workers, everyone who shows up every single day for children, often without recognition, often without adequate resources, often in the face of systems that are slower to change than your students need them to be. What Dr. Bennett reminded us today is that your work is not small. Your work is not ordinary. To choose education, to truly choose it, to give it your whole self, and the way Dr. Bennett has, is an act of resistance, of love, and of hope. Every lesson plan that centers a child who has been overlooked, every relationship that tells a student, I see you, every door that is held open because you refuse to let the system close it, that is America at its best. That is what it looks like when we truly believe that all children deserve all the opportunity that this nation has to offer. Dr. Samuel Bennett, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts, from every family whose child has been transformed by educators who hold your values, from every teacher who has been mentored by a leader who sees their potential, from every community that is stronger because you choose to invest in it. We thank you. Your work is a gift. Your presence on this show today was an honor. And your mission to transform schools into spaces of possibility, purpose, and progress is one that America in black and white will always stand behind. We see you, we honor you, and we are grateful for everything you are building. And to everyone who joined us today, thank you. Thank you for being a part of the community, for believing in the power of real stories, real people, and real conversation. If this episode moved you, inspired you, challenged you, or gave you something to carry forward, please share it. Share it with a teacher, share it with a parent, share it with a young person who needs to hear that their future is worth fighting for. You can find America in Black and White on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe so you never miss an episode. Leave us a review. It means the world to us, and it helps more people find this show and come back because we're just getting started. Until next time, I'm your host, Charles Zachary King, reminding you that Black excellence is not an exception, it is the standard. God bless you. Stay real. You guys have a great night, and we will